It is great to be here with each and every one of you. And before I begin my formal comments, I wanted to say thank you to a couple of very special people. First and foremost, my wife Betty. We've been married nearly 40 years. We were married here in New York, in Astoria, New York. And she has been by my side during my 22 years of active duty service, 17 years in the private sector, and now in the role that we play as Secretary of the Navy. Now I want to thank Gabby, the wife of our commanding officer. Could Gabby stand up? As I commissioned one of these many years ago, I know the dedication and the hard work that it takes to be a Navy spouse and a Marine Corps spouse. And there are simply not enough ways to thank all of the spouses of all our military service members across all the different services. So if you're a military spouse or we're a military spouse, how about getting up and getting a hand of applause from everybody? I also want to thank my dear friend Ray Mavis, the 75th Secretary of the Navy, and the second best Secretary of the Navy that the United States has ever had. Ray, it was your vision that made this possible today by naming this great ship USS Cooperstown, and as always, you are dead on with the recommendations that you made for our Navy ships. I feel proud to follow in your footsteps, and I thank you for the courage, the conviction, the vision that you had to name this great ship Cooperstown. Thank you, Ray, and thanks for being here with us today. You know, in the Department of the Navy, I always say that our sailors are the backbone of our Navy, our Marines are the backbone of our Marine Corps. And I want to take just one moment, an unusual recognition perhaps, to recognize a personal friend of mine who has served in the New York Yankees organization for 60 years, Tony Morani, sitting right there. He eventually became the director of tours at Yankee Stadium. He has recently retired, but just like our sailors and Marines, Tony is a great American. He was a member of my commission committee 20 plus years ago. We're so happy to have you here, Tony. All right, folks. I've got about 500 chaplains that work for me in the Department of the Navy. And I gotta tell you, I attend a lot of ceremonies, a lot of keel layings, a lot of christenings and commissionings. They don't always come through. I gotta thank the Reverend here for coming through today with today's weather. What do you think? How about a hand applause to the Reverend? How you did it, but I'm confident that the good Lord looked down on you because you're a Yankees fan. And who knows, perhaps he or she is too. So good morning, and thank you, EXO, for the introduction. I also want to take a special thanks to Mrs. Albertall for serving as the sponsor of the Cooperstown, and for her dedication to preserving the story, the memories of baseball through her work as a film director, photographer, board member of the Jackie Robinson Foundation. I want to thank Ms. Solana Coleman, the Cooperstown's Maid of Honor, as well as Ms. Jane Forbes Clark, Chairman of the Board of Directors of the National Baseball Hall of Fame Museum, and our other honorary sponsors for their support and commitment to this mighty ship. I want to say thank you to the Commissioning Committee. I personally know how hard the days, the weeks, the months of work that it took to put this great celebration today. There are simply not enough ways to say thank you for your dedication to the commissioning, to the ship, to the Department of the Navy, and to our nation. And of course, to Governor Hochul for your leadership, ma'am. In charge of the Empire State, what a great job. Not as good as Secretary of the Navy, but a great job. I want to thank Mayor Adams, who couldn't be here today, for his support as well too, to the entire New York City for welcoming us. It's great to be home as we celebrate this momentous occasion for our fleet and our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, this crew and our industry partners have worked tirelessly over the past several years to bring USS Cooperstown to life. And I am proud of all of them for their contributions. We wouldn't be here today without them. This is the first, as has been mentioned, the first United States ship to bear the name Cooperstown. As you all know, first to honor the members of the National Baseball Hall of Fame who served in our nation's armed forces. These men answered the call of duty. When you stop and think about how these men were either at the top of their game or aspiring to be at the top of their game. And despite the hope that laid ahead of them, they decided to don the uniform for our nation and to serve in uniform. There is just not enough ways to say thank you for their example to baseball, to the military service, to all of us as Americans. Now, Commander Moore, I know exactly how you're feeling today. Having been in the same position myself 21 and a half years ago, right here at Pier 88, December 2001, I indeed had the privilege to serve as Commissioned Commanding Officer of the USS Bulkley, bringing our nation's then newest destroyer into the fleet. Despite the uncertainty that we faced as a nation in the wake of September 11th, I was filled with a sense of pride as we brought USS Bulkley to life in my hometown of New York City. The officers and the crew of the USS Cooperstown also face a world today characterized by uncertainty, albeit of a different kind. When I commissioned as a surface warfare officer in 1983, our nation was concerned with countering the Soviet Union and maintaining the precarious balance that kept the world relatively stable during the Cold War. Today, the United States Navy and Marine Corps face challenges around the globe in every environment we operate in, from the ocean floor to the heavens above, as well as in cyberspace. The regimes in Iran and North Korea continue to act as destabilizing forces in their regions, exporting their malign influence as they try to distract from issues here at home. Russia continues its illegal and unjust aggression against Ukraine, violating its territorial integrity and national sovereignty. We will continue to carry out President Biden's strategy, supporting our Ukrainian partners as they look to defend their land and protect their people. In the Indo-Pacific, the People's Republic of China continues the rapid expansion of its own navy in support of its whole-of-government strategy to exert pressure on its neighbors as it tries to enforce excessive territorial claims. We, the United States of America, must stand firm and ready to support our international partners and allies as we confront common challenges to a free and open maritime domain, which is crucial for the free flow of commerce around the world. In order to do so, our nation needs to maintain a strong joint force, and the Navy Marine Corps team are the foundation upon which the success of the joint force rests. New York City, as the world's financial capital, the heart of the U.S. economy, understands better than most the importance of keeping goods moving around the vast oceans in support of our global trade. Commissioning USS Cooperstown here in New York City is a reminder that we, the United States Navy, stand ready to defend the free use of the maritime domain for the economic benefit of all Americans. By welcoming Cooperstown into the fleet today, we continue to maintain a force capable of executing our assigned missions on a global scale, as the Admiral mentioned. Our littoral combat ships provide us with the flexibility to conduct a range of operations, from training with partners and allies to defending our homeland against threats like maritime narcotics trafficking. Cooperstown will be the newest ship to provide our fleet and combatant commanders with the capabilities and the capacity they require to meet their objectives in the maritime domain. The veterans who played America's game recognize that preserving our way of life, and that way of life includes enjoying Mets and Yankees games, required them to trade one uniform for indeed another, as I said earlier. The crew of the Cooperstown, as well as all of our sailors and Marines stationed around the world, are no different, making those same sacrifices today. And let me remind you that just today we have over a third of our fleet actively deployed around the globe, and over 35,000 Marines deployed all over the world. I am confident that Cooperstown and all who sail aboard her will represent our nation with honor, integrity, embodying the spirit of teamwork necessary to indeed win a World Series. And speaking of World Series, it is my pleasure to introduce National Baseball Hall of Fame inductee and one of baseball's greatest skippers, someone who I have had a lifelong respect for as a Yankees fan. And it was in high school that I would actually attend every Yankee game every Friday that they were playing hometown, and I'd sit out and the cheap seats out in the outfield to watch the great Yankees play. I'm glad I got a slightly better seat here today, and I'm still not paying much for it. But as a lifelong Yankees fan, I cannot thank enough for leading us to not one, not two, but 4 World Series titles, Mr. Torre. Thank you again for joining us as we mark this special occasion. May God bless our sailors, our Marines, this crew, their families, our country. Mr. Torre, the podium is yours, sir.